Who names a show How I Met Your Mother? There's not even any rhyming to it. It's just like a bunch of basic words put together as a sentence. It's not a title, but I digress. Harold and Kumar.
Get back on the road. This is my car, and we are not picking up a hitchhiker, man.
Hey, guys. Thanks for picking me up.
Oh. Excuse me, are you Neil Patrick Harris?
Yep.
Oh my God, what are you doing here?
Holy shit.
Dude, Doogie Howser MD was like my favorite show growing up. You were my idol.
Yeah, that's great. Can we get going? I'm bored as shit back here.
Go.
Let's go. It's a freaking boring spot.
Harold and Kumar was very strange. I was living in Los Angeles and I got a phone call from a friend that said, I'm auditioning for this movie that you're in. And I had no idea what he was talking about. I was not in any movie. And he said, yeah, this Harold and Kumar Get the Munchies, or something it was called at the time, I think. That made no sense. What a weird title that was. So I said, are you being serious or are you joking? He said, you're not aware that you've been written into a movie, like a crazy version of you.
Neil, you wouldn't happen to know how to get on the highway from here, would you?
Dude, I don't even know where the fuck I am right now. I was at this party earlier tonight and some guy hooked me up with this incredible X, and next thing I know I'm being thrown out of a moving car. I've been tripping balls ever since.
And so then I kind of panicked, because I don't want to be the ass of a joke. Like, who's gonna play me? That would be weird. One of the kids from Home Improvement, probably. So I called my agent. What is this? I demand to know. They can't use me in a movie. So they sent me the script. And it was really funny. I was flattered, to be honest. My only demand was that I would sign up and then they wouldn't then rewrite it and change it. Because as much as I want to take the piss out of myself, I still want to respect the work that I have done and not make it seem that I'm tossing middle fingers at my past. And so they were cool with that. And I got to play this really, messed up version of myself. And they let me improvise a bunch. So I was licking things and dry humping things. Just a normal day at work.
2 words. Starship, fucking troopers.
If you want to know the secret of being, you will come with us.
Please, I really need to go.
Yeah, of course. I'm so sorry to bother you. You move along.
I had to film, I think, on an actual unicorn, which is a challenge. Contrary to popular belief, they don't really exist. But I believe there was some sort of horse that had something super glued on its forehead. And I remember being in a weird green screen studio, kind of like this, but everything was green. And I'm trying to be like I was tripping on mushrooms. And that was one of those, what has happened to my life? Like how did I go from small town New Mexico, singing in the Episcopal church choir, to tripping balls on an actual 4-legged animal in a green screen room? And I've had more than a few of those thoughts in my life, as I'm sure you will soon find out.
Bye. I love you.
I wasn't really looking to change anyone's perception of me, because I had just done Mark in Rent, which was pretty hipster cool, East Village. So I was just excited to be doing new gigs. My favorite thing about working is just the new chapters. I get a little bit tired of redundancy, and maybe just because I've been doing it for so long. So the Harold and Kumar thing seemed super fun. Again, just a couple days work. John and Cal, who played Harold and Kumar, were exhausted. Been filming nights. And I just came in and, stole their car, found some strippers, and then went home. So it was another great gig. Doogie Howser, MD.
We did a chest x-ray, EKG, and an echocardiogram. He has a murmur of mitral insufficiency. I gave him digoxin 0.125 milligrams, Lasix 20 milligrams BID, and aldactone 12.5 milligrams BID. Also, I'd like to send him to nuclear medicine for a cardiac scan at 9:30.
Thank you, Dr. Howser.
I grew up in a small town in New Mexico, and I happened to randomly be cast in a movie opposite Whoopi Goldberg, which is not ever something one says. But it happened. And then I was still living in Ruidoso, and because I'd been in that movie, I had an agent. We had never wanted to do television because it would meant that the family would have to move to Los Angeles, and my parents were both attorneys, couldn't practice in California, so we were only movie people. And so they said, we'd only do a TV show if it was a Stephen Bochco type show, because they were huge fans of LA Law and Hill Street Blues, which were big, giant shows back in the 80s and 90s. And wouldn't you know, Stephen Bochco wrote this show, like a half-hour show that starred a smarty pants doctor person. We said, okay, well, we'll meet him. And I met him and he didn't think I was right for it, to be honest. And so they did this big, giant nationwide search to try and find Doogie Howser. I think I must have met him too early, like early in the process before maybe they had really started casting. So I ended up finally getting the gig. And when I arrived on set the first day, the crew members were wearing T-shirts that said, "I'll play Doogie," because they had taken so long to cast the role, which is kind of insulting, seeing as I auditioned for it really, really early in the process. But I'm not going to complain about it because I got the gig. And 4 years later, people liked it. And 27 years later, they still call me Doogie. So look at that, full circle.
It's not just the heat, it's everything. Someone I'm trying to save almost kills me. I worked 40 out of the last 48 hours. Wanda's not speaking to me because I never showed up at the Stones concert, and I have to do a dance just to get anyone to listen to me here.
Doogie Howser was pretty much my same age, and we were both experiencing really weird professional lives outside of what adolescent life would be. He in a hospital, me in a hospital set. I felt great kinship to him. It was kind of interesting. I think they hoped that I would have had that physical inability to ever grow. I think they hoped I'd have been one of those kid actors that just always looked like they were 9. Because when I first got the gig, I was like pre-puberty, even though I was almost 16 years old. And then my testicles dropped. And suddenly I was like 1.5 feet taller. So they didn't love that, because I think they wanted me to be this cute kid the whole time. And so they had to adjust to my Adam's apple and my acne. Lighting does amazing things. Doogie Howser ran for 4 seasons, which isn't a ton, but it was on TV at a time when syndication then started happening when you ran 4 seasons. So I think more people feel that it ran for a decade. And in point of fact, it was kind of unceremoniously canceled. I was actually in Vancouver filming a television movie, and I read in a newspaper that the show had been canceled. I didn't feel disrespected by it. All of this is one big business. So I got the gig. I got 4 years of amazing experiences. I guess a phone call would have been nice, but they have a call list. I forget to call friends. How I Met Your Mother.
Hey, loser! How's not playing laser tag? Because playing laser tag is awesome! Oh, I killed you, Connor. Don't make me get your mom!
Hey, listen, I need your opinion on something.
Okay, meet me at the bar in 15 minutes, and suit up!
After a healthy amount of time not working on TV, I thought one year that it would be a good idea to try and get some steady work as the next chapter. And then I got an audition for this show called How I Met Your Mother, which I thought was a terrible title. When you have friends and Three's Company, something that looks good on a cap. And then I read the part, and it was to play someone who is like rotund, cigar smoking, Jack Black, merp, merp, merp. And I thought, I don't even, what am I, this is a multi-camera comedy show where I'm not gonna get this job. But I knew the casting director. And she said, yeah, go in, they like you, they've seen Harold Kumar. I said, oh, that's cool, all right. And I was in the hallway with these other actors. I thought, this is ridiculous. This is an LA actor's story right now, because I'm just gonna go in and not get the job, and I sat in traffic all day for another audition I'm not gonna get. And so I didn't really care. I didn't think I was gonna get it. So I went in, I said hey to them, and it was the laser tag scene. So I was just like, I think I did a dive roll and knocked into their desk. And I think that worked. They liked it. And they thought, as good writers do, they thought, well, it doesn't have to be this. It could actually maybe be this. And I thought it would just be the pilot and would never go because of the title. Who names the show How I Met Your Mother? There's not even any rhyming to it. Like a bunch of basic words put together as a sentence. It's not a title, but I digress. And then it kept on trucking. And Barney was this crazy fun, delusional monkey head that got to every episode try different rules and pretend that life was way more exciting than it actually was, and lie about dates and claim that he accomplished things that he hadn't. Wear sharp suits all the time. So to be the devil on your shoulder, great gig. Did it for 9 years, loved it.
I request the highest of 5s.
I have a lot of respect for Carter Bays and Craig Thomas, who created and wrote the show, because while they wanted it to be ridiculous, And it was a laugh track show with lots of little, with 4 cameras filming it. They really liked the heart of Ted and the pathos of reality. So Barney was an extreme part of an ensemble where Ted was sort of the serious truth part of the ensemble. They knew over time that they wanted the story to evolve the way humans evolve. Because once it started to catch on and we were doing season 6, 7, 8, then I think they realized we're not just going to do the same funny show over and over because we're heading towards a conclusion that they knew very, very early on, apparently, that everyone needed to grow and change. I think Barney's evolution mostly came about from my falling in love with Kobe Smulders.
Barney, just say it.
I think I'm in love with Robin.
We knew that Robin wasn't the one. In the pilot episode, he says, that's how I met your Aunt Robin. So I was like, wait a second. She's so talented and hot and funny and Canadian. Already, that's 4 stars. She's just amazing. So I started flirting with her as much as I could on camera. And Barney could do all of that. I just was kind of like, had a talent crush on Kobe. They sort of saw our chemistry change. And then that shifted Barney into being more single-minded and really honoring the notion of changing who he is and changing his ways as much as he was able.
Now, the golden rule is love thy neighbor, but there's one rule above it, the platinum rule. Never, ever, ever, ever love thy neighbor.
I meet a lot of straight, frat kind of guys at bars that are super stoked that I'm the guy who played Barney Stinson. And some of them tell me that they're not gay, but that they would fool around with me. That doesn't happen nearly enough. The follow through, do you know what I'm saying? But I'm flattered by the idea of it, by the notion of it.
Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Hedwig and the Angry Inch was just nuts because that's live theater, and I hold the live theater event in really high regard, meaning that when I see theater, I'm boring into the actors, I'm really judging them to see if they're phoning it in. And sometimes it's like, it feels like it's the first time they've ever done this, and it's spectacular, and I think that's not true. They do this 8 times a week, but here they are, like doing this singular thing, so I hold them in real high regard. Hedwig is essentially a one-woman show, where you're singing everything, very David Bowie, punk rock style. I had to be as effeminate as one could be without making light of it. I'd never even done drag ever, or worn heels really ever. So I had to not only learn all of that so super quickly, but I also had to commit to it in such a degree that the audience who was boring into me didn't think that I was faking it, because I was faking it, because I hadn't done it. So it was a lot of work. But it was so different from myself that I was sort of able to take on the newness of it all, like shaving my body, losing 20 pounds. It was a crazy chapter in my life. I looked very emaciated. I had to carry myself more like tits out, swivel hip than shoulders strong, square frame. And that's a weird place to exist when I haven't done that. So all of it was crazy and super fun, but the fun thing about Hedwig, if I'm being honest, and I hope I get another crack at it someday, the more wisdom she has, the more she knows, the better it is. But more so, the worse she is, the better it is. And that's a hard one for me, because I want to be good. I want to be on a stage where people go, good choice, actor. Oh, I love the vibrato at the end, nice musical notes, Harris. If Hedwig's too good, then she'd be famous. Like every time my voice was bad, it was better. Every time I messed up on the choreography, it made more sense, which was a mind fuck. If you're too polished in what you do, karma will come and remind you in some swift way that, you're mortal. Starship Troopers.
Every day, federal scientists are looking for new ways to kill bugs.
Your basic arachnid warrior isn't too smart, but you can blow off a limb, and it's still 86% combat effective. Here's a tip. Aim for the nerve stem and put it down for good.
Would you like to know more?
Back in the mid-90s, when you were an actor on television, you weren't welcomed into the world of film. And in turn, if you were a film actor, you weren't really welcomed into the world of television. They were very separate beasts. So having done a TV show at a very relatively young age, I kept trying to be in movies, but I was just a TV person, which is fine. You know, you hope that you can pull a Sally Field and just like stick around long enough that the rules change. But I auditioned now and again, and I did get a part in a Paul Verhoeven movie called Starship Troopers, which was super cool because it was one of the first CG movies with giant CG bugs.
We're in this for the species, boys and girls. It's simple numbers. They have more. And every day I have to make decisions that send hundreds of people like you to their deaths.
That's what the mobile infantry's good for.
I hope you're ready for more. We're going back to P to capture that brain.
It was fun. I was sort of the brainy person. I had second sight. I could know what people were thinking. Instead of being one of the soldiers and got to shoot guns and do the cool scenes, I was just whisked away and then came back wearing like a remarkably militaristic black leather trench coat and stomped around and sort of said everything's fine, carry on. Which was fun in one way because I didn't have to be on set all of the time wearing this like uniforms and helmets and, you know, trying to avoid Jake Busey's errant shot pattern. But in turn, everyone else got to go with Captain Dale Dye on training missions and bond together as this group. And I'd just show up after they were all exhausted for 2 weeks of filming in Wyoming, and I'd touch a bug and say, "It's afraid. It's afraid.
It's afraid!"
That would be my day, and I'd leave. So I love it. It still holds up, that movie, quite well, surprisingly. If you watch CGI in a lot of movies that were filmed after that, it looks very much like a fake entity. But Phil Tippett is the name of the man who did all of those bugs. And he did a really bang-up job, because that movie still holds up really well. Gone Girl.
Amy, I am so happy that you are here. And I don't want you to worry for one moment. There are cameras everywhere. The exterior, all along the grounds, the entryway. Anyone who is caught coming or going will be recorded. You are more than safe. And I am not letting you get away again.
I'm a huge David Fincher fan. The Game, which is a Michael Douglas movie that Sean Penn was in, is one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm obsessed a bit with escape rooms and with immersive theater and the notion that content doesn't need to be on a screen or even a stage. So this movie kind of delves deeply into that as an idea. I got an opportunity to meet David Fincher to see about maybe being in a movie. That's all I knew. And it wasn't an audition, it was just go have lunch with the guy, which was terrifying. It's worse than auditioning, because you at least in audition, you come prepared with a thing. But I'm thinking, God, what am I supposed, do I talk too much? Do I do research and then show him how much I know about him? That feels stalkery. Do I wait and let him sort of come to me and tell me about the role and I'll act actor aloof and like, yeah, maybe I'll take a look at the script? No, that seems like a stupid idea. And we just started talking and we just talked for the whole time about nonsense. Good, great stuff about crossword puzzles and scripts, and we had a lot of similarities. I think a lot of people are scared of David Fincher because he's exacting. He does 40, 50 takes. But I somehow made him laugh a bit, and I'm just enamored by him. I've never felt with a director as much as him that I was in the hands of a sculptor. It just felt like he would take a shot and spend so much time lighting it, and then he would take an equal amount of time with the actors and we just chisel away. So all of the things that I would do, he'd say, stop doing those things with your eyes, just do it again. Not because I did a thing with my eye, but because of 17 things. And then by the time take 30, 34, 37 came around, you're simplified. It sort of distilled all of the weird tweaky isms that you practice in the bathroom mirror, and then you get there and you really do it. So it felt very truthful. So it was fun to play super subtle in that world. I was also playing someone who you weren't sure about their intentions. Playing something very simple when you don't know whether they're being truthful or deceitful is fun. And then I got my throat slit mid-orgasm. Also fun. Who knew? Uncoupled. Uncoupled, I played Michael, who's in a long-term 17-year relationship, monogamous relationship with his boyfriend Colin. And on Colin's 50th birthday, Michael's throwing him a party, a big surprise party. And as he's about to open the door, Colin says that he's leaving him. And then the door opens and everyone goes, surprise, and they have to deal with this party where everyone has no idea that that just happened. Michael is just been punched in the stomach with news that he doesn't understand. And the whole show is kind of a breakup show of like having to figure out what happened, but also then now what happens? What happened, what happens? Now I'm 47, I've only been with one dude since before dating apps. And now I'm in New York City, a real estate agent, handsome AF, but old, you know what I'm saying? And have to date people on Grindr? I don't know what that means.
Here, help me pick a photo. Ooh, how about this one? We just had it taken. It's our company ad. That crop out Suzanne?
Sorry, darling, you're a bit ragged around the eyes. Suzanne looks great, though. She should crop you out and put it on her profile.
This is why you have no friends.
So that's the show. It was transformational in a very weird way because I'm in an 18-year relationship with someone who thankfully has not broken up with me, but like my online dating was AOL chat rooms. You'd be in a little thing with 14 other names and then you'd awkwardly type sup, and then that would appear. And then you just sort of wait for like a direct message that would say, you know, pick. And I'd go to all the hot guy pics I had and send them that one. You? And they'd send me some other pic. I assumed that wasn't them. I was probably talking to a 95-year-old woman in Kansas, but her pic was like of a stud. And then we'd like chat. That was dating for me, long time ago. So I don't know any of this stuff. So it was fun to play someone who also didn't know, and I kind of got to live vicariously through my character Michael.
I mean, I just feel like I should mark this moment with something new, something I haven't done before.
Isn't this something you haven't done before?
I guess it is.
And I'm in a great state of undress through a lot of it, because you're seeing me having sex with strange, handsome people that we don't really connect. But yeah, it's fun. It's weirdly touching. I think what Darren Star does really well, and has done it through Sex and the City, and Younger, and Emily in Paris in its own way, is intense situations that are comedic and heartfelt that kind of everyone can rally around. So even though this is a singular story that I just told, it's a breakup story that is ridiculous at many times, and also like very heartfelt. Like there's some really sad, like tender moments, which happens in breakup. And I think to define breakup in both of those tones was a smart call, because in life, when you're broken up with, you cry about the weirdest things, but you also act ridiculous in certain ways. It's not like just a sad show, but it's also not just a stupid, funny, shticky show. It's everything. And my butt. So, I mean, if that's not gonna sell it, I don't know what is. Sad, pratfalls, taint. You're gonna see all three. The trifecta. We act to play parts. It's all transformation, whether it's grand guignol or whether it's really like nuance. It's all transformational. I look for gigs as like new bucket listy things that I haven't done before. That said, I'm getting a little tired. I haven't hosted the Tony Awards since I did that at Radio City Music Hall, because I thought that was so fun and it was like so good. I don't want to try and top it, but you can't really top it. Not that it's unachievable, but it's like that shouldn't be your goal. I don't want to keep just trying to reinvent my own wheel. I think my my future will steer more towards directing, because as fun as it is to be an exciting paint color on a palette, when Lana Wachowski is the painter and she's in charge of your color, it's exquisite and it's so fun to be a part of it. But I'm anxious to start painting, I think.